Good morning. We are live and about to talk with Brooke Cates from the Bloom Method, all about diastasis recti, how to prep for labor. I have all the fun Fam Summit goodies behind me for the VIP gift boxes. So if you're like, why are there a bunch of boxes there? That's what that is. You add Brooke now. Oh, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. It's hot here, but we have air conditioning that's really nice. How
I feel you.
about
We're actually in southern Texas right now, traveling. We've been on this big road trip. That's a whole nother live. So I've
wow.
been outside at the pool and popped in here to chat with you. And yeah, the heat. I'm like, I just want to sit in a pool
Yeah,
or any type of body of water. So I get it.
definitely what we're planning to do today too.
Good, good.
So during the FAM Summit, you have two different amazing um I want to say talks, but they're actually kind of demonstrations for us. The first one is this amazing kind of would you say you'd call it like a boot camp? It's prepping your body for labor, which is really interesting because you hear about like prenatal workouts, but the concept of the workout being specifically designed to imitate labor and really prepare your body, that was new to me. That description of like these exercises were created to imitate some of, the feelings you might go through so that you are prepared. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So we teach a lot of things at Studio Bloom and on our app, various different ways you can move your body. Our birth prep class is hands down the favorite thing I've ever taught in my life to prenatal women, because it is so empowering. And basically, what we've done is, I don't know that I would call it a boot camp, although if people want to call it a boot camp, they can. It's absolutely a fitness class. So sometimes people are surprised that we're not actually coaching them through labor, but it's this new, more innovative concept that is one of our signature classes at Bloom. And what it does is it mimics the highs and lows of a contraction. So what I tell women is oftentimes, again, I should preface this by saying we also really want women to understand that no amount of prepping for labor
That's
means
the best. Yeah.
means that your birth is going to be just smooth sailing, right? It is a transformative experience for both mom and baby. But what experience can't be improved with more tools in our toolbox is kind of the way we
Yeah.
put it. So our birth prep fitness classes are just that. They are more tools that prepare you both mentally and physically, because we're a movement methodology, for those more challenging aspects of birth. So if we go back to that high and low of a contraction, not every woman gets a low of a contraction. Some women get back to back contractions and they'll report, I never got a relief. So when I say the height of a contraction, that's the more intense element of the contraction. Some people say it's painful, we say it's intense. And then the low is when women feel like they get this break.
Great.
So these waves, right? And so we utilize exercise to train us in this physical way, and then we bring in this mental component. So one of the ways I like to help people understand this is take a single leg lunge. You're in a single leg lunge, whether you have weights or it's just your body weight and your incredible new and improved weight vest that you have because your baby is growing. And we put you in that for a long bout of a period of time. So when I say long,
Oh,
anywhere from a minute to 3 minutes. And the goal is to physically push you to your edge. We're not doing burpees for 3 minutes. We're doing a static, for example, single leg lunge for up to 2.5 minutes, let's say. And you're going to get to your edge. The goal is to get pushed to that physical edge. And then there's that mental component of, I can't do this anymore. I have to pull
yeah.
out of this exercise. So we are there as coaches to remind you, you can do this, because some of my favorite quotes are, yes, you can. The way you show up to everything is the way you show up to anything. You can do anything for 10 seconds, 20
Right.
seconds. And so it helps you to start to understand that when you're at that edge, that physical challenging moment, whether it's a single leg lunge where the muscles are fatiguing, or a really intense contraction where your body wants to tense up and fight that contraction, when you get to your edge in our birth prep classes, we're going to tell you, now you breathe, now you soften, and you remain strong, because our bodies have to have strength in birth. But how do we find this beautiful edge of softening
Hmm.
into that strength so
Instead
that
of stressing your body tightening and stressing out, which is
exactly.
what you don't want. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think there's this other beautiful element that it teaches women, which is what you just said, that ability to soften into the, let's call it pain, into
Hmm.
that pain or intensity, so that you can connect with that diaphragmatic breath, send the signals to the body that everything's okay. You're not pulling away and terrified of this labor, this intensity. Everything is happening naturally. Your body is supported, and you're there as a guide versus someone that's
Huge.
restricting it, because that happens a lot in birth. Is women start to restrict it, and then they're surprised when their labor team tells them your labor has been stalled. So
Yeah.
we want to help women understand that our innate being gives us incredible tools to ride the waves of our birth. And no matter how our births turn out, whether it's a vaginal birth or a cesarean birth, these births are here to teach us such incredible things. So
That's
that's
amazing.
a little bit.
I mean, that all sounds perfect to me. If for anyone who's given birth, that what you just explained is exactly what you feel. No matter what prep you've done before, when you're in the moment, you start feeling like I can't do this anymore. You get to that point where you're like, okay, someone help me. I'm done. I've changed my mind. And you can't go back and change your mind, but you still say it and feel it, and you're like, I can't go on any further. And it's it's definitely a mental game at that point. Even though you're saying I can't do this anymore because of the physical aspect. So I mean, just combining all of that in your workout is amazing, so that you can, like you said, you're preparing for that type of atmosphere to come, even though it's always unexpected. So that sounds amazing. And
Yeah.
then you mentioned a very specific type of breath.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, will you cover that at the summit? Because I know, for myself personally, if you've done yoga or other things in the past, they talk about, doing the belly breath. And so then it wasn't until recently I learned I've been breathing wrong. And I think a lot of people don't breathe correctly because we don't know that we should be breathing through our whole diaphragm like that.
Yeah. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think
Okay,
I'll have time to go through an in-depth.
right.
I am still in the process of building out the birth prep class, and we do have 30 minutes. So I'm currently thinking that we'll do a little bit of breath work beforehand, so that when we get into class and I'm cueing things, people aren't going, what is she talking about? How do I do this? So I will give a little bit of instruction and know-how of how to do it, because you're right. And the visual, or the kind of like aha moment that I love to
Mhm.
give moms, especially new moms or currently pregnant moms that have had babies before, is think about how your babies breathe. When you look at your babies and your toddlers and watch them breathe, that is the way innately we are designed to breathe. And the stress in our world over time starts to shift us into this quicker, more rapid chest breath. And breath is one of those funny things that, you know, we're going to talk about diastasis in a minute, but women who want to heal or even prevent an injury-based diastasis, and the first thing we teach them is a diaphragmatic breath. It's almost, I've been doing this for so long, and I worked with so many one-on-one clients over the years that I almost can hear them every time I start to tell them this is going to be your first step. They go, oh, really? Are you kidding me? You want me to breathe?
Mhm.
I want instant gratification. I want to heal my
Right.
PR. But it is something as powerful and simple as our breath and the way that we breathe that really sets the entire foundation, and is kind of this line of either a strong functional core, or even a core that looks like it's strong and functional, but there's a lot of dysfunction going on within the core simply
Wow.
because of the way we breathe. So it's not an instant gratification tool, but it's one that will serve you forever. So I tell people, my attitude at this point is get over it. Just trust me. Trust me, and you
Yeah.
will thank me. You will thank me, I promise.
And you definitely need to be mindful with that. I feel like you're relearning how to breathe if you haven't been doing it right for a while. So I don't know. I think leaning on someone like you who is an expert in that type of breathing is really important when you're trying to sort of rewire how you do things. Like, oh wait, I wasn't making sure that the hair got everywhere in my body and really went to all the right places, so
Yeah, I
it's a
actually
process.
love how you mention the rewiring because it's such a huge process, and it's kind of where I have to tell women we are a fitness method. We will make you sweat. You will see incredible results. I will give you the classes that give you the instant gratification burn that you want, but that is a portion of our foundations that
Hmm.
is completely different than what mainstream fitness has told us. Mainstream fitness has told us, I like to say they've lied to us for years and years. They've told us that the more it burns, the more we sweat, and the more sore we are the next day, the better our results. So we have this desire of everything that's going to give me results from a movement perspective
Hmm.
must come with intensity and instant gratification. But when it comes to breath and repatterning your breath, and even oftentimes making sure that you engage your core properly, you can do a million core workouts. If you are not managing your IAP during every core workout, and so many people just went IAP, intra-abdominal pressure, it happens. It's that doming coning that happens. You're not going to get your results. So why not take the time to rewire, create another positive habit in your day,
Hmm.
and then see better results, whether it's in CrossFit, Pure Barre, Orange Theory, the Bloom Method, whatever it is. So we help women to relay that foundation, to help them no matter what they do, to get on that Peloton bike and see better results than ever because they know how to breathe when they're on the Peloton bike. I'm using Peloton as an example because who doesn't have a Peloton bike right now?
Yeah.
Um, to know how to breathe, and not just how to breathe from a stamina perspective or intra-abdominal pressure perspective, but when you're moving on the bike, you start doing the arm stuff and all the stuff that they do on these bikes, these choreographed moves. How are you relating to your core? And it starts with the breath. So when we take the time to rewire, it'll, I mean, I have my attitude seems a little like nonchalant, but it's true. I tell women, if you don't want to rewire and you just want instant gratification, then the Bloom method's not for you. If you're willing to take a step back and implement techniques and tools that will change the way you move and exercise and even on a hike for the rest of your life, awesome. We would love to have
I
you.
think it's important exercising or not. I mean, just sitting at your desk or in the car, depending on how you're breathing and you're engaged, that type of breath helps when you're in a stressed out kind of situation. And you have to remember, okay, I'm just going to breathe. And then it helps you through it. And you talked about that. Someone mentioned the no pain, no gain, sort of method that some, exercises do. And I feel like, I agree with you. I feel like that enforces this sort of idea that you need to just, do whatever exercise makes you sweat, but that's not really thinking about whole health care like you are, where you're thinking about the mental aspect and the breathing and any possible damage that could happen to the body. For instance, there's some exercises you shouldn't be doing if you have the diastasis issue. Is that correct?
So
And
that's a
definitely.
Yeah, no, you are right in that is a mainstream narrative is the way that I would say that. We actually teach women that you can do any core exercise you want
Wow.
postpartum if you have diastasis, but you have to meet certain markers first. So
Okay.
no, at 6 weeks postpartum, most of the women who are getting cleared from their OBGYNs or midwives to go back into their chosen form of exercise, absolutely not. You should not be doing a plank at 6 weeks postpartum because chances are you have not done the things necessary to be able to meet the markers that need to be met to do the plank properly. So it's more about meeting these markers, and those markers are making sure that your form is correct, making sure that you have spent time rehabbing your core and pelvic floor. And we're really big in helping women understand why that first 6 weeks postpartum should be that rehabilitative time. And then that IAP. So it's breath work, knowing how to continue to breathe and move your breath during a core specific exercise so that you can manage IAP throughout the exercise while continuously building the endurance component of the muscles so that you can get the best results ever. So a lot of people will say, for example, a bicycle crunch, because you're crunching over one, you're crunching, which women are told don't crunch postpartum.
Yeah.
If you have diastasis, there are actually some really incredible PTs out there. Diane Lee and Julie Webby would be two of those that have proven that crunches actually help diastasis, not hinder them. It's all in the way that you do the crunch. Again, it's that making sure that you can manage that intra-abdominal pressure. IAP is any just pressure build in your torso that happens. It happens when you stand up out of a seating position on a very minimal level. And it also happens in a plank. You can lie supine, and when you pick your legs up, if you place your hands on your abdomen and you don't engage your core, your belly's gonna rise. That's because the pressure in your abdomen just increased. So we teach women how to engage the muscles, utilize your breath properly, not diaphragmatic breathe when you're in a core specific exercise so that you can manage that pressure in this container system. So I know it's a lot. Some people are like already glazing over. We break it apart really simple in our app, but
they're like, please give me the steps. Someone just asked, does, Bloom offer a series that helps us meet those postpartum markers? And that's a great question because like you just said, if people are like, wait, what was all of that? Help me step by step. That's awesome.
Yeah, we do. We have our 4th trimester rehab series, which is a guided series that can begin as early as day 1 postpartum. We never push women to do things a day postpartum. And the first week of our rehab series, you can do in bed nursing your baby. It is so gentle.
That's amazing.
It's all about rehab. And then from there are other marker programs that would continue to focus on the core and get you back up to that more advanced level. So when you're in a more advanced fitness class, you don't have to always do the modification, or you do continue to do the modification because you honor your body, and there is nothing wrong with modifying your exercises. Because I tell women all the time, if your modification helps you to get so deep into your core that you're working your body harder than every other person in that class who's not doing the modification, guess who wins? Guess who wins? You do. so I'm a huge fan of modification.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I feel like so often these questions can go down all these little rabbit holes.
Oh yeah.
Everything is so connected.
We're all over the place.
Oh my gosh. But all of this talk around IAP, basically form, making sure that you can build the endurance of your deep core muscles, which is that TVA. Your TVA, I just tell people, it's your corset muscle. It's underneath your rectus muscle, which is that 6-pack muscle. That would lead me to the way that we talk about diastasis at Bloom is one of the things, the main thing that I think is really important for us to rewrite. And when I say us, me and my team at Bloom, for us to rewrite the story around diastasis. I used to get a lot of flack about this several years ago when I would say, you can prevent diastasis. And people would say, no, you can't. Stop telling people you can't. You can prevent diastasis. And so finally it's caught on. I did not back down. I'm like, yes, you can. So when I say that you can prevent diastasis, I'm not saying that you're preventing the abdominal muscles from separating. What I want women to understand is that there is a difference, a very, very clear difference between natural, fully supported by our body, and fully able to rebound postpartum, again, through the magic of our body, diastasis, or a separation of that 6-pack muscle. ultimately the muscles aren't doing anything. It's actually the connective tissue that goes down your midline that the rectus muscles connect into. That connective tissue is like a rubber band. It is designed to stretch, and at its stretched point, so think of yourself at 39 weeks pregnant, your separation could be pretty pronounced if you're checking your separation. It's another reason I don't like pregnant women to check for a separation or a diastasis during pregnancy, because we want there to be a separation. Otherwise,
Right.
your muscles are probably overactive and you could have a problem birthing your baby. Or if your baby is breech, you could have a problem getting your baby to flip, all the things. So we want there to be a natural, fully supported level of separation. The problem is that when women have that separation, or the way I like to say, a more vulnerable, if that connective tissue is more vulnerable because it's stretched out, right? Think about if you take a resistance band, like a mini resistance band or a rubber band, and pull it this way, it gets more vulnerable. It's much easier because it's thinner to like poke your finger through it and poke an actual hole through it. That would be a
Yeah.
hernia. That's a whole nother talk. But
Ooh.
it's more vulnerable. So when we do things like, let's put exercise over here. When we do things as simple as get up out of bed or recline onto our couch to watch a movie and then lift up from the couch and forget to engage our core properly, that intra-abdominal pressure that I talked about earlier has to go somewhere. And so
Hmm.
it's almost like there's this little opening that has a more vulnerable piece of connective tissue. That pressure tries to escape outward. You get that doming or coning effect down the midline. And the more that happens, the more you damage that connective tissue. The more
Wow.
you damage the connective tissue during pregnancy at its most separated point or at any point of the separation, you are more likely to fall into that injury, what we call an injury-based diastasis. And that's when everything, your belly starts to heal, your body starts to heal, you're no longer carrying baby. But it's not about the muscles. It's not about this gap that we talk about all the time from a mainstream perspective. It's that this rubber band has stretched. There was repetitive damage done over and over again. And then everything went back. And now the rubber band's kind of like floppy. Again, I'm just trying to use lingo that will help everyone. So now,
Visuals are
yeah, exactly. So now you have to go through this process of even deeper rehab to heal the diastasis, because ultimately what we're trying to do is regain a healthy level of integrity to that connective tissue so that you can regain function, etc. So I want women to stop being worried about it. There's a lot of fear mongering out there.
yeah,
Even methods like mine, women who intend and they want to do good for women, there's this join our method or join our program. We'll help you heal diastasis, and everyone's going to get diastasis. Well,
right.
sure, everyone gets some level of separation, but when we can empower women with tools to prevent injury, they don't need methods like ours longer than 6 to 8 months postpartum. And I'm
Right.
okay with that. I don't want women sticking with us for 3 years, because that tells me we're not doing something right. I want to release women and have them go, if it weren't for the Bloom method, I wouldn't feel the strongest I've ever felt in my life after 4 kids.
Wow.
So,
And that's an amazing thing to be able to say, because I feel like a lot of us don't have that information ahead of time. Like you're saying, we're not empowered with, there's so much to learn with having a baby in pregnancy. And then once the baby's there, and then if you have other kids, so there's no time for yourself and you don't make time for yourself. And so you think, well, I'll get to it someday. And, things like that build up and your body feels worse. So having those tools as soon as you can is just amazing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love this work. I love doing what we do at Bloom, and it's incredible. I mean, motherhood is such a transformative journey, and it never stops. I have a 2.5 year old, and I feel that, every day, every milestone, I'm like, holy cow, I'm even more transformed than I was before.
Yeah.
Um, And yeah, to feel strong and capable in our bodies. And I'm not talking just to feel strong to push through a really hard workout. I'm talking about feeling strong in the pool with our child, and I can pick up my child and toss them into the water just like my partner can.
Yeah.
I'm just as capable to move and chase and play with my child and not have the repercussion of my body hurting. And so there's a lot of it compounds, and it's just that at the end of the day, women deserve to step into motherhood, step into their birth, step into pregnancy and postpartum empowered, because it's the most kick-ass thing that anyone does on this planet, period. I mean, it really is, and we don't give ourselves enough credit.
And it is a powerful journey, and so I think that's why sometimes we feel like it sort of sucks the energy out of us. And so being able to have that strength, through a foundation, to sort of not necessarily fall back on, but to have that to help us to continue to be like this force of power is huge. We had a question about, can an overactive TVA prevent someone from spinning a breached baby? I don't know if you go into this at all. Um,
Yeah, it can. I've seen it happen with women specifically that I work with one-on-one. You know, at this point with our app, I don't have the one-on-one connection with most of these women, but in the past, I created this method because I worked with thousands of one-on-one women and wanted to create a methodology that could speak to all women, because everyone needs different things, and I've seen it. And so what I tell women is that it's not because you're doing a certain exercise that your TVA becomes overactive. It's often more of a mental component that I've seen personally with my clients. They're a little more type A. Again, this is not everyone, but in the sense of, I don't want to lose my body. I don't want to lose my abs. I've been an athlete all my life. And so they almost overemphasize the need to train their core, even if it's doing one of our signature foundational moves called the belly pump, which takes diaphragmatic breath and this exercise component of connecting and engaging that pelvic floor and TVA. Even if they're just doing belly pumps 100 times a day, at some point in our pregnancy, we've really got to learn that our body loves both mobility and softness and strength, and challenge with that endurance building, right? And that goes for the core too. So what can happen is that any type of overactive muscle can create dysfunction in the body, whether we're talking about a shoulder injury, to pelvic floor injury, so on. But
mhm.
what can happen is, because that TVA is that corset muscle, if that TVA turns on all the time, and I'm not even talking exercise, if you've trained that TVA to turn on really deeply when you stand up, when you get in and out of bed, when you pick things up, because we want the TVA to turn on in those normal things that we do throughout the day. But when it's overactive, you can get to this point where it's almost like you've cramped the baby's style, with like, the baby doesn't have enough room to move to flip. So I have been able to help women. Again, it usually takes a team in various modalities. But one of the things that I tell women when they are having trouble getting their breached baby to flip is to just stop doing abdominal work. What's more important to you? Ask yourself that. What is more important to you? And most of the time it's, well, I would like to flip my baby. Awesome. You're going to do things like getting on all fours and really allow gravity to kind of help pull that belly down, and you're just going to breathe, and you're going to focus on really expanding that belly. That's not always something that I teach with diaphragmatic breath. Well, while we do want there to be belly movement, sometimes I think that women can really overemphasize the belly movement in a breath repetitively. But in this case, we want to turn down that TVA muscle. So we want to tell it it's okay to lengthen and open and relax. And in positions like child's pose or even on all fours can really help, because you have that assistance of gravity to help, because it's not impossible to switch off overactive muscles. It can make it a little tougher. I can also tell women that if they have a Maya abdominal massage therapist in their area. That a good massage therapist that is really good with working with prenatal women and not scared of it. So stay away from the spas because they tend to be scared of prenatal women with massage, but they can actually go in and manually get into those abdominal muscles and start to turn things down, because it may not just be the TVA, it could be the rectus muscle too.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so, hi, Natalie. I have another live with Natalie next. This is an exciting day with lots of information for pregnancy and postpartum. Thank you so much for joining us, Brooke, and for all of that amazing information. We did have one more question about 5 months postpartum. Will the Blue method still help them? I believe you go up to like, can I come back like after, I have a toddler, let's say, can I come in and check out the Blue method and start at kind of square one and work my way up?
100%. I think our oldest client that we knew about was 65 years old, and it was her daughter did the Bloom method. It was when we had our brick and mortar studio in Boulder 3.5 years ago, and used to bring her to classes, and the mom had debilitating back pain and said, I've never felt so good than
Oh my God.
implementing your classes. So yes, I mean, my husband used to joke that you should do like a method for everyone so that men can do it. The foundations of what we teach, any human being on the planet could do it. So absolutely. But what I do tell people just to be weary of when you're joining at a later stage is that mental component of typical mainstream fitness that's going to tell you, I just want to push and go harder, and I want to sweat and I want to burn. Because to really reap the benefits of the method from a core perspective, you're going to have to scale back to rebuild that core foundation. That doesn't mean that you can't rebuild the core foundation while simultaneously throwing in some of our quicker, more challenging express workouts. You're just going to have to continue to be mindful of the core, and that can be tough for women. There's that mental component, right? So as long as you know that you're going to have to scale it back with the core, 100%. And I'm super confident that women will see results no matter how many kids, no matter how old they are. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm about to go to the app and check some things out after this talk. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
all
you
of
so
this
much.
information. I learned a lot, and I can't wait to see your demo at the FAM Summit on July 30th. And then you're also talking more about diastasis as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really amazing talk.
Yeah. And I hope you take the birth prep class because you're pregnant, right? So you could feel it for yourself.
I'm going to be 26 weeks. So like I said, I'm going to be going to the app after this and looking for some things.
Well, it was so lovely chatting with you. And yeah, I look forward to being a part of the FAM Summit. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I'm going to add Natalie now. Let's see. I don't know if you can try to request to join, Natalie. I'm a little bit, here we go. Go live with Natalie. I have not done lives in a while, and now suddenly I'm doing a bunch of them. So I'm feeling a little technologically challenged. Did it invite you, Natalie, to join? Thank you so much for everyone who joined my chat with Brooke from the Blue Method. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, you're coming in late. This live will be up in my IG Live, so you can check it out. And then I'll also post it over on YouTube later. Really informative talk about just how your workout should really be for the whole body and everything that they cover in their method. And also some great info about diastasis. I learned a lot of new things. Hopefully you did too. I might have to end this live and start a new one because it's saying that you can't join for some reason, Natalie. Okay, I'm going to end this live and then I'll be right back up. So hopefully you all can join me in a second.